Hillary Clinton testifying right now before Congress. It's been very interesting. We've got a couple of little clips here to share with you, but let's just listen in for a few moments. And in the meantime, if you want to get in on the conversation about this, the questions in my mind are, is she doing it seems to me so far, I mean, we're just an hour or so into it. It seems to me so far that she's doing a really good job of presenting herself as knowledgeable, competent, strong, capable, willing to take responsibility. None of the, it doesn't matter what the word, it's a question of what the word is means, none of that kind of stuff. It seems to me like she's been really straightforward, and the Democrats on the committee have really been sticking it to the Republicans. And she keeps mentioning the fact that, no, we didn't have enough money for security, which is a reference to the fact that back in 2011 and 2012, the Republicans cut several $100 million from the State Department's security budget, which was one of the problems that the State Department had in protecting their people around the world. But anyhow, let's just listen in. Here's she's debating basically with Republican Westmoreland from Arkansas.
And said we should shut down our compound in Benghazi.
I'm not saying shut it down. I'm saying protect it.
Well,
I'm not saying shut it down. I'm just saying protect it. And when you say security professionals, I'm not trying to be disparaging with anybody, but I don't know who those folks were, but
well, they were people who risked their lives to try to save.
Very professional when it came to protecting people. But let me say this: you said that the mission that you gave Ambassador Stevens was to go in to investigate the situation. Now, if you're going to investigate a situation, it would seem to me like you would have to get out into the country to investigate that. And I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but there were not even enough diplomatic security for him to leave the compound without asking the CIA operatives to assist them. Were you aware of that?
Well, we had an agreement with the CIA to help supplement security and to come to the aid. It was a mutual agreement.
Was that a written agreement?
No, it was not a written agreement, but we are posted with the CIA in many places in the country. Okay. I mean, in the world, and it's important to have a good working relationship, and we did. And unfortunately, despite all the weapons and despite the fortification, two CIA contractors died at the CIA annex that night.
Just to follow up on one thing about Ambassador Stevens. You got a lot of emails from Sidney Blumenthal.
She's just eating these guys' lunch.
Mr. Blumenthal was a friend of yours, and he had your personal email address. You say Chris Stevens was a friend of yours. He asked numerous times for extra protection. Now, if I had been Mr. Stevens, and I think anybody out there or anybody watching this would agree, if I had been Mr. Stevens and I'd had a relationship with you, and I had requested 20 or more times for additional security to protect not only my life, but the people that were there with me, I would have gotten in touch with you some way. I would have let you know that I was in danger and that the situation had deteriorated to a point I needed you to do something. Did he have your personal email?
Congressman, I do not believe that he had my personal email. He had the email and he had the direct line to everybody that he'd worked with for years. He had been posted with officials in the State Department. They had gone through difficult, challenging, dangerous assignments together. He was in constant contact with people. Yes, he and the people working for him asked for more security. Some of those requests were approved, others were not. We're obviously looking to learn what more we could do, because it was not only about Benghazi, it was also about the embassy in Tripoli. And I think it's fair to say that, Chris asked for what he and his people requested because he thought that it would be helpful, but he never said to anybody in the State Department, you know what, we just can't keep doing this. We can't stay there. He was in constant contact with, people on my staff, other officials in the State Department, And, I did have an opportunity to talk with him and about the substance of the policy. But with respect to security, he took those requests where they belonged. He took them to the security professionals. And I have to add, Congressman, the diplomatic security professionals are among the best in the world. I would put them up against anybody. And I just cannot allow any comment to be in the record in any way criticizing or disparaging them. They have kept Americans safe in 2 wars and in a lot of other really terrible situations over the last many years. I trusted them with my life. You trust them with yours when you're on CODELs. They deserve better, and they deserve all the support that the Congress can give them because they're doing a really hard job very well.
Well,
Take
ma'am,
that, sir.
all I can say is that they missed something here, and we lost 4 Americans.
Gentleman's time has expired. The chair will now recognize the gentleman from Kansas, Mr. Pompeo.
Okay, so anyhow, back to Mr. Pompeo. Oh no. Mike Pompeo? Okay, let's bring him back up again.
To diplomatic security, is that correct?
It provoked a discussion, Congressman, about balancing of risk.
Madam Secretary, I had a chance to read that. I wanted to only read the executive summary that ran 25 pages, but it didn't have a word about diplomatic security in those entire 25 pages of the executive summary. Not one word, Madam Secretary. And then I read the remaining pages, amounted to 270 plus. Do you know how many pages of those 270 had to do with diplomatic security?
It was about the balancing of risk and reward, which
Madam
was
Secretary,
not only about diplomatic security specifically, but about the larger question of our mission around the world.
Madam Secretary, there was no balance. There was 2 pages out of 270 pages. You talked about a lot of things in there. You talked about a lot of improvements, but it didn't have anything to do with diplomatic security in any material way in that report.
How dare you run for president?
Too. I've heard you use that several times. You were disappointed. You read the ARB. Why don't you fire someone? In Kansas, Madam Secretary, I get asked constantly, why has no one been held accountable? How come not a single person lost a single paycheck connected to the fact that we had the first ambassador killed since 1979? How come no one has been held accountable to date?
Well, Congressman, the Accountability Review Board pointed out several people working in the State Department who they thought had not carried out their responsibilities adequately, but they said that they could not find a breach of duty. And
yes, ma'am.
The personnel rules and the laws that govern those decisions were followed very carefully.
Yes, ma'am. I'm not asking what the ARB did. I'm asking what you did.
I followed the law, Congressman.
So
that was my responsibility.
You're telling me that you had no authority to take anyone's paycheck to cause anyone to be fired. You're telling me you were legally prohibited from doing that. Is that your position here this morning?
It is my position that in the absence of finding dereliction or breach of duty, there could not be immediate action taken, but there was a process that was immediately instituted and which led to decisions being made.
Yes, ma'am. The decision was to put these back at full back pay and keep them on as employees. That was the decision that was made as a result of the processes that you put in place. I will tell you, the folks in Kansas don't think that is accountability. I want to do some math with you. Could I get the first chart, please?
Oh, they're starting. This is the first guy who's like, starting to draw a little blood, I think, or whatever. Provide sound bites for Fox News. This is really, the mission of the Republicans on the committee are to provide sound bites for Fox News. The mission of Hillary Clinton is to look presidential and run for president. I mean, that's basically what's going on here. We'll be back.